Had a little Gov't Mule Soulshine for you in the beginning, one of my favorite songs. Allman Brothers does another version, but sharing that version with you, check it out, listen to the lyrics. There's a lot of good stuff there. So coming to you from Joshua Tree, California. If you're just joining me, the purpose behind these videos is to bring together everything that's helped me along my journey and my path: yoga, wellness, healing, inspiration, traveling, experiences, and bundling all of that up in short, quick 5 to 10 minute videos and passing that along to you in the hopes that it may be of some help or service along your journey. So, if you caught an earlier post this week, I shared with you that I had the opportunity to practice with one of my favorite yoga teachers of all time this weekend, Sean Korn. Yoga has been a huge part of my healing journey. We'll get into all of the myths and things about yoga in next week's video, because one of my passions is to introduce people to yoga, bring yoga to people that have never done it, and make it accessible to them. So long story short, we'll get there next weekend. But the purpose of today is to talk about a concept that we spent a lot of time on this weekend, and it is the concept of truth. And I know what you're all probably thinking, well, it's pretty simple, right? Truth is black and white. It's either it is or it's not. And the way that I want to frame up this conversation around truth is how, in three different ways. One, truth of how you see yourself and how that is influenced by a lot of different things. The truth of how you see others and circumstances and situations, and then the truth of how you respond in situations. So we're going to be looking at, again, the concept of truth. And anytime there's truth, light, right? There's also the dark, lies, secrets, and maybe giving you a different perspective on both. So that's the goal of today's conversation. Stick with me. It's not going to get too deep, but it's also going to be very real. And my intent and my hope is that you leave this conversation with like a, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way before. So hang in there. So truth. Thinking about the truth of, number one, who you are and how that's influenced. Especially in today's society, we've got social media, people, all kinds of external influences trying to infiltrate up here who we should be, how we should be, why we should be. And then in turn, what that creates is, if I'm not this, then that means I'm not good enough. So anybody ever struggle with that? If you're not raising your hand, I know you're lying. You're not telling yourself the truth. So think about, and the piece that I want to leave you with here is, how have you lied to yourself or struggled with the truth of really embracing who you are? Now that's way easier said than done, right? We are born into this world, and then experiences, life, traumas, people, social media tries to help us think that we are something different. So the journey of understanding who you are is a process of excavation, right? Excavation, removing layers, removing family, belief systems, experiences, lies we tell ourselves, to hang out in this space of comfort, rather than being willing to explore and find and have the courage to step up and be who we are. Much easier said than done. But that's your, who are you? Do you even know? Or are you living a life that you've been told you need to live, that you think you need to live? Are you living in a box that has become a safe box for you? You might not like it, but at least you know what to expect, right? So what's your truth there? Do you know? And be honest with yourself about that one. What lies do you find yourself telling yourself about who you are and what you want? And how have those lies continued to build and be covered up and just go through the patterns and the cycles of your life? What patterns have you created? And again, this happens over time. This happens over experiences. So you're not just gonna all of a sudden go, oh yeah, I've been lying to myself. But in your gut, in your intuition, you know when you are being truthful with yourself, truthful with others. As human beings, we all have this thing, and I talk about this a lot in my coaching. We all have this thing where it's like the human energy, human intuition, human kind of lie detector, right? Somebody walks in a room and you know pretty quickly whether or not you want to engage with them. You're like, "Ooh, I like their energy. I want to go play on the playground with them." Or you're like, "You know what? You can hang out over there. I'm going to be over here and I'm all set. I'm good." There's something that you're picking up on about their energy. And that's not a judgment call. That just is what it is, right? That's just saying, hey, I'm not sure. And chances are you're not sure because something is inauthentic within that person around how they're showing up. They might not even realize it. You might not even realize it. You might be giving off the same vibe. So the goal is to really think about, who are you? Who are you? And how have you covered you up with lies, secrets, patterns? And again, this is not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of awareness, and that's how I'm offering it to you. So who are you is number one. Who do you perceive others to be? We already kind of talked about that, right? How do you perceive situations? How do you perceive others? How do you perceive the circumstances around you? Your beliefs, your perceptions, your viewpoint, that is the lens at which you look at everyone else. So immediately you are judging them if they are living however they want to live, whether that's in their truth or not. You're immediately placing judgment on them, because they might not think like you, feel like you, look like you, whatever. So that gives you, in your mind, an opportunity to go, I don't like what you're doing. I don't really get it. So I'm gonna say you're weird or you're whatever. Or think about how many times you do that. Number one, that's one thought. The other thing with looking at other people is, again, you're gonna lie to yourself if you say, no, I don't know what she's talking about. We all have had experiences, traumas. That's what life is all about, right? That's what the journey is all about, is experiencing. And this is where you might look at me and go, oh, whatever, Jody, that's your yoga stuff. But it's like, it is the human journey for the soul, right? This body that you're in is the vehicle for you to be on this journey for your soul. So take it or leave it, whatever. Look at me like I'm weird. Judge me if you want. It's okay. I'm good with it. But think about that, right? Everybody's had experiences. It's all a matter of how we recognize those experiences and how we show up to others with those experiences, right? Which we'll get to that in a second. How do we respond truthfully? How do we show up to others from these experiences that we've had? And how do we judge other people looking at them like, so-and-so's, really this or that, or I just don't like how they act in this situation or that situation. There's a reason for that. People behave in certain ways for a reason. Now, that's not to say that it's okay for someone to have those behaviors, but when you can look at it from a place of truth, non-judgment, we all act out and behave in ways because we have, here we go, judge me again if you want, but there's scientific evidence. We all have stories, trauma, experiences that if unhealed, if unmanaged, that's yoga next week, part of it, right? If unmanaged, manifest, show up. It's part of our acting out. It's how we show up to other people in the world. And so that's where we have conflict. That's where we have, if it's unhealed in here, again, how we respond, coming soon, but anxiety, overwhelm, tension, stress, whatever. So think about how you look at other people and what they do and how they do it. Are you judging them? Are you judging them from a place of looking down? And if you are, can you really do that truthfully, knowing that they've got a story just like you do? And not to say that what they do or how they do it is okay, because we all have a responsibility to Whatever story we've got, whatever experiences we've got, they're ours, right? And it's our responsibility to recognize that and heal that and move through that. If we don't, we just run through the world creating chaos and throwing our shit on everybody else, going, hey, it's your fault. I'm good. I don't know what your problem is. Pattern of avoidance. When we don't heal things, we avoid. Insert whatever you want here. We're going to talk a lot more about this next week. But look at your own patterns of avoidance. Avoidance of the truth of yourself. How do you distract yourself? Insert whatever you want. Shopping, drinking, drugs, sex, computer, work, whatever. We all do it. So don't lie to yourself and sit back and go, nah, I don't know what she's talking about. That's her. That's you. That's not me. Until we've healed, when we get triggered, we avoid. We avoid the truth rather than looking at ourselves and going, man, I got some accountability to take here. I've got some ownership here. I've got some truth to speak here, and it's mine. I influence this story, this person, this experience in this way. So, how do you perceive? Number 2. Number 3, again, they're all interconnected. Do you see that? How do you respond? How do you respond when you are in a situation that doesn't feel comfortable, authentic, truthful? A situation that you maybe can't even put your finger on it as to why, but you don't like. I don't like it. Doesn't feel good. How do you respond? You have responsibility in that. Is your response to pick up a distraction and avoid? Well, if that's the case, guess what? You're going to play out these cycles over and over and over and over and over again until you're no longer in this human form. So you have an opportunity, we all have an opportunity with looking at the truth and saying, where do I show up in ways that I know I'm not okay with? Where do I show up in ways that I know are not being truthful or authentic to the person that I am? And going back to number 1, if you have covered that up and covered that up and covered that up by lying to yourself, by avoiding, by distractions through your entire life, if that's been your method with the truth, then it's going to be really hard for you to see your role in this story. It's only when we shed light on that, bring light to the dark, right? That, again, yoga, whatever, judge me, or think about it. When we bring light, truth to what's really happening, that we can choose to respond differently. So, I went way longer than I wanted to. Shocker, I'm sure, for some of you. But that's what I have to offer you around the concept of truth. How do you see yourself? The truth of who you are. How do you perceive situations and other people? How do you respond in situations where it might not feel how you want it to feel? Triggered, which again, we're going to get to that next week. So part of next week's video is going to be what are some tools that you can use to begin excavating this stuff, that if you don't, look at where you are right now, and if you are okay with that, no judgment here, but look at where you are right now, and if you're good and life is good and you are living 100% aligned and truthful, which if you're being truthful with yourself, I don't know many of us that can say that we are. But if you're in a good place, you keep doing you. If you're in a place where you can look at it and go, I got some things that I want to work on that just are not settled. Again, if you're being truthful with yourself, then join me next week. I'm going to go into like a 101, high level. I promise not to bore you. I promise not to go too deep into yoga speak and whatever. Some people are like, oh, it's too woo-woo or whatever for me. But let's head on over there and join me next week, and we'll talk about some of those tools that you can use to start that process. I also posted a meditation album that I released back in 2017 this week. Download that if you're interested. If not, leave it. It's whatever. Just offering it up to you. So Thank you for joining me on the journey. I hope this was helpful for you in some way. If it was, fantastic. I invite you to do that work on your own. If it's helpful enough that you feel like you need to share the message, please do that as well. Or not. It's whatever, really. It's all good. So I will see you all next week. Big announcement this week that I am so excited to share with all of you. A project that is near and dear to my heart that is coming back to life in a huge, big, different kind of way. And I'll be sharing that with you here live on social media. So enjoy your week, continuing along your journey, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.
Life can take the strongest man